for young illustrators. Our speaker today is triple threat, professor, agent, and illustrator Mohamed Danawi. Mohamed has over 20 years of teaching experience, currently a professor of illustration at Savannah College of Art and Design. Mohamed is also the founder and creator of Illozoo, the visual communications agency representing over 175 illustrators, animators, photographers, and designers across the globe. And if that doesn't impress you, Mohamed has also been named Archive's 200 Best Illustrators Worldwide, one of his many accolades. Today, Mohamed will be answering your questions live. So be sure to type your questions in the chat box below. So Mohamed, hello and welcome.
Hi, Sabrina. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
All right. Are you ready to do this?
I'm ready.
Okay. So the first question, I guess, is the biggest question we have here. To be repped or to not be repped? What are the key differences and what's your objective opinion?
I guess from the standpoint of a representative, we do a lot of the marketing and promotion and all the business, transactions and negotiation and all the boring stuff, basically, that illustrators don't want to do. And so some illustrators who are super busy and they don't have time for any of the logistics that come with all the business practices that come with illustration or the creative process, they find being represented by a rep helpful. Also, a lot of artists don't have the time to go to conferences or to do their own promotion and meet with clients and all that. So a rep could be helpful in that extent. However, from, let's say, the point of view of a professor of illustration, and I see a lot of my students, graduating, and they already know what to do. They already know all the that it takes for putting together a portfolio and doing the self-promotion and doing the marketing and all that. They and at the same time they might not have enough body of work to show it to an agent or an agency. Then in that case, they're probably best that they get their experience in the field on their own, and when they build enough reputation and confidence in their work, then they might have to, if they still want to do it, they'll pursue rep services. So I'm saying, like, it's not really for everyone. It's not 100% necessary for all the artists to have a rep. It's nice if you're doing a lot of work on your own and you're bringing your own clients. You really don't need a rep. The rep comes in only when you have no time to do all the promotion, or you really have no desire to do any of the business or marketing process that comes with illustration.
Right. So how challenging is it to get a rep?
How challenging? I think they are very. I mean, maybe I'm not sure about the number, but the ratio. There are reps that are specializing in, let's say, concept art or animation. There's other reps who are literary agents who are more focused on books and book illustrators. And then you have, the international agencies that represent everyone, in fashion and advertising and concept art and editorial, et cetera, et cetera. So, but there are so many artists who are straight from school, who go straight to the reps, and they send several requests to several different agencies, and it becomes difficult for them to secure an agent because they don't do their homework properly. They just send a mass email. Sometimes actually I get emails CC'd to 20 different reps from the same person. It's not even blind copy. It's like everyone is CC'd on it.
Right.
So like I'm a graduate from so and so, and I have my portfolio. Here's the link to my website. I hope you like what you see, etc. And then and it looks obviously most rep won't even answer this, or sometimes, I mean, unless they're like out of this world. But the idea is that they should, the artists or the students who just graduated should do their homework and before they contact the agency to make sure that their work fits into the portfolio, and also to keep the email straight to the point, and make sure they have a website at least, because some artists, they even send Instagram account or blogs, or it's always better to have, or Behance even, it's always better to have their own website and to curate their gallery properly, and to have not a mixture of every style possible. They need to sort of make sure they're dividing it into subject matter, or perhaps be more organized and be more strict with what they're showing on their website. So some things backfire. It becomes difficult for them to find the right rep, because first, they're not doing their homework, and second, they are not prepared. Their website is not built or not curated properly, and third, they don't have enough examples to show. Some of them get fixated on one particular topic or subject matter, and they build a lot of work relating to that. It could be personal subject matter or personal passion of theirs, which is fine, but there's not enough marketability of that topic. And so the rep is always looking for a variety of subject matter, variety between narrative and conceptual problem solving, but a very cohesive and consistent visual voice. Not the opposite, where sometimes you have many different visual voices and one or two subject matter treated, is not enough problem solving skills. So we're looking for these things usually, because that's what the clients are looking for. So it becomes difficult for those who are not prepared to to find the right one. What's happening? Hello?
Hi, Sabrina, did we lose you?
Yeah, I'm here. Did you hear me?
This is Bonnie. I don't know where Sabrina is. Sorry about that, Mohammed.
Sorry, technical difficulties there. The call dropped.
Oh, my call dropped?
No, I don't know. I just got to my phone. My call dropped. Sorry about that. Okay. Anyways, let's get back to it.
That's okay. We're all good. Okay, I'll leave you to.
Okay, so as a rep, what are your 3 top pieces of advice for someone who is looking to have a rep, like for their portfolio?
Well, portfolio-wise, it's really, as I was saying before, it's important to have their own domain name, their own website, and it's important that they show a variety of problems that they're solving, ranging from editorial, books, advertising, and it's important for them to have a cohesive body or cohesive style approach to creating an image, whether it's painterly or flat graphics or traditional digital. They need to have their own consistent visual voice that's showing up throughout their portfolio. So that's very important. And the website needs to be curated in a sense that, dividing different subject matter, having a biography, having their contact information posted. But the most important thing, obviously, the reps are looking for is also someone who is reliable and confident with their dealing with the client, and they're organized, and it's mainly because a lot of times you find artists who are incredible, but they're very hard to work with, or they're not organized, they don't deliver on time, or they may be juggle too many projects, and they sometimes slow down the whole process because they're overly stressed. So beyond the portfolio and beyond the fact that the work should be consistent stylistically, they need to be, business savvy, and they need to be able to understand, the whole logistic of working with clients and printers and art directors, creative directors, and sort of, be organized with how they show their sketches and getting feedback and submitting things on time. There's, several different aspects of for the success of each project that it's important for each artist to be, following these things. I guess these are the most important, things that they should have. Combination of personality, I guess, and the quality of their work.
Right. So while we're still on topic of portfolios, how critical is a hard copy portfolio versus an online portfolio?
Oh, the copy portfolio I don't think they're important any longer. I mean, unless even if the illustrators or the artists are going to conferences, when we go to conferences, when the agents from the agency go to different conferences, whether it's a book fair or a licensing conference or a meeting with clients, we take our iPads and we it's a combination of showing them the website or a PowerPoint on, PDF on the iPad. And so digital form is fine. It used to be where, artists will drop off their physical portfolio, like their book portfolio with prints inside and things to leave behind at agencies, during a specific time, and then they pick it up later. But I don't think it's really important to have a book portfolio. I think it's more important to have a well-curated and designed website with an easy to navigate, template between animation and illustration, and for the clients or the art director to be able to see it clearly and to, have a good look at the work. They can also upload their digital portfolio on platform such as Issue, where the client would send a link to the client, and the client could download the digital portfolio. So obviously, more and more people now are not even using the book portfolio because of that, and going more towards website, social media, and promotion through, maybe promo cards by mail is fine. Sending promo cards are nice to receive, and tag, it's there. It's not an email address, or it's not an email that could get lost. But a book portfolio is absolutely unnecessary today.
Right. Okay. So what's a key piece of advice you have for image makers about to graduate?
So the seniors who are about to graduate from college or university, they, hopefully they are learning about themselves, what their skill level is, and it's, what they want to focus on, whether they want to focus more on infographics or animation or editorial illustration or package design. It's important for them to have a good focus on a certain type of market as opposed to do everything, because they need to, problem solve, and they need to have a focus also on like I said before, on a visual language that makes the client comfortable to hire them, because they know what they're going to be expecting. So also learning about the business practices, contract, invoicing, setting up a business, self-promotion, and all the logistics of the working with clients or working with art directors, and setting up their office and paying taxes, all the business aspect that, especially if they're not going to be with an agency, it's important for them to learn that. the main thing, the three things that they should really have is, number one is, creativity and a drive towards this creativity and passion that they, to create the artwork. That's one. The second thing is a business sense and knowing how to work with client. And the third one is, being very punctual and very efficient in working, because sometimes, there's a lot of deadline and a lot of pressure, and a lot of students, after they graduate, they feel like that they couldn't handle the freelance world, because sometimes a whole week could go by and no project comes in, and then the next week you would have 2 or 3 projects landing on them, and they couldn't say no to it because they need to budget. And then suddenly, so it's very unpredictable, and they need to sort of be able to be equipped for that, being very efficient and being organized, and sort of juggle between marketing, promotion, the business aspect of it, and also the creative aspect of it. So all these things that hopefully they're learning in school, how to put together their website, how to create their own, style that is very specific to them, finding their passion, understanding the market needs, and learning about the business practices as well. All these things together.
Right. So as you're mentioning deadlines, how critical is it to meet a deadline?
I mean, it's vital. It's very important. They, book publishers have usually with contract, they provide us with deadline for storyboard, deadline for sketches, and deadline for the layered files. And because these guys are also going to put together, sometimes they put together book dummies to send them to, or to take them with them to book fairs and test the books before they go to publishing. Or sometimes the client is, launching a campaign, and there's specific dates for those campaigns to coincide with the launching of the product. So it's everything that illustrators create relate to client needs that is, strict, and not only the deadline, but the dimensions and the platform. That's why an art director usually, sends a style guide or a request with a prompt that shows exactly what the client is asking, the dimensions, the platform, the usage, and the deadline for delivery, allowing time, between sketches and final artwork, because sometimes the art director has to take the sketches and show it to the client and get feedback from the client. So there's a timetable for every project. It's very important for us when we collect the requests from the client or art directors. We have a scheduled timetable, and the artist will stick to it. I mean, some artists, most of the time, they follow through with it. But I'm saying it's not enough to be creative and not follow deadline, because the client will not call back, or the ad agency or whoever's giving the project won't call back because they didn't follow through with the time. So it's hard, because and I know how it is with artists. Sometimes they get so carried away with the detail of the execution of the project that they might not even realize that small part of it is, no one's going to notice the difference, and they get so fixated over a small part, and sometimes they miss a day or two because of that, which is it ruins the whole thing for them.
Yeah, so when you're talking about artists becoming so fixated on something they're creating, how would you get out of that mindset? How would you take a step back to make sure that you meet deadline?
Well, we usually have a contract with every project. So the artists, when they're contacted by a client, they agree upfront on the contract, which will describe the project, the parameters, the dimension, the platform, the usage, the schedule. And an art director usually checks in from time to time with the artist to make sure that they are on task, for delivery of the sketches and the work in layers. So there's everything is written. There's no, I mean, it's really between contract and sometimes the through email. Some depend on who they're working with, and maybe the exchange through email. The client would mention that this is the timeline that I have, and this is a schedule. Just make sure that you follow through with it. But for the most part, when there's a transaction between the artist and the client, whether it's through an agency or not, there should be a contract that spells out not just deadlines, but the format of the project, and the payment plan, and also all the visual requirement, creative requirement, and usually a good art director will put together a brief that is thorough. Some art directors, they just sort of put it really quickly, and the things become vague, and and they rely on back and forth email. But it's a good solid art director. They make sure that all is included between the brief and the contract. That doesn't leave any room for misunderstanding or miscommunication.
Okay, so I just want to jump back for a sec. When you mentioned self-promotion, what is the best way to self-promote yourself?
Well, for artists or for agency, I mean, I think we learned through the agency, which is the same thing really, whether with agencies promoting the artist or the artist promoting themselves. We learned that nothing beats a face-to-face meeting where you're establishing a relationship with the art director or with the the client. So we find that going to conferences, whether it's a book fair or licensing expo, or meeting face to face with art directors and establishing contact and showing them their work, is really the best way to do it. But sometimes it's just impossible, and for financial reason, the artist might find it difficult to do that. So the second thing is, once they build their website and they have a social media presence, they can always. Are you still there? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. To reach out. Sometimes artists buy lists from places such as Agency Access or different lists. They kind of send specific emails or specific newsletters to specific people. So LinkedIn also is another good way to contact creative directors and art directors. And I think after meeting face to face, what is to write, to reach out the client through maybe promotional materials by mail, finding out the title of the art directors, the location, the address, and contact information, and send them maybe a promo card, which gets their attention. And I think the email is nice if it's short and sweet and showing the link to the website, and sometimes a newsletter. It's a good idea. Sometimes with the MailChimp, they can create their own newsletter and send a monthly newsletter with visual information about their project, or it could be the newsletter would have a link also to the website, and the art directors can decide to unsubscribe if they want to. So they can build a network of like a chain of emails from a MailChimp, and send it to a specific art director, and design the promo or the newsletter based on that particular industry. So they might be animation studio might find it useless to see work that is editorial. If they're sending it to different magazines and newspaper, they don't need to send character design or storyboard. They want to show more editorial content, whether it's lifestyle type illustration, fashion, travel, leisure, or conceptual kind of interpretation of essays. Book publishers, really nice also to mock up their work. to show their work within the context of a book cover, even if it's a fake mock-up, like a PSD layered file, where they show their work on a book cover with the title. Type and image is always nice to have together, or a mock-up of their work on different platforms, or maybe even products, like a wine bottle or packaging. Because the art directors like to see the work within the context. So mocking it up, there's a place called the Graphic Burger online, where you can download, or either can even buy. If it is free download, then you can buy packages of like different types of platform for mocking up the artwork on anything, from garments to home goods to kitchenwares to food and beverage packaging, or magazines and books, and also the murals even. So I think that helps. So it's really a combination of sort of, sending those promo cards and doing mock-ups. Social media also are important. I think everybody talks about the same thing. It's a combination between LinkedIn, having a Facebook page, having an Instagram account, and a Twitter. Also helps get the work out there. But the worst is really sending an email blast with just not knowing who's going to receive it, and people usually don't like spam email blasts.
Yeah.
So it's good to know to do their homework and specifically send to specific clients or art directors.
Right. So while we're still on the topic of self-promotion, what do you think about student award contests and getting your profile noticed?
Yeah, these are essential. There are annuals that are based on the artist buying pages, and then there are annuals that are based on merit. So the annuals that are based on merit are based on competition. You enter, and there are jury members are selecting the artwork, and only the very best gets in. Those are usually those annuals that are sent to different creative directors to look at. And by being in these annuals or in this competition, it's a prestige, number one, and number two, it's an exposure. You're showing that you competed and you were selected among the very best, whether it's a student competition or professional competition. So it's very important for the students, or maybe to the faculty, to enter as many student competition as possible, to have, there's so many different ones that specialize, like let's say Spectrum specializes in fantasy art. So if their work is fantasy art, they'll send a Spectrum as an example. It's also like you guys, Applied Arts, photography, graphic design, and illustration competition all in one, annual, beautifully designed and sent to different art buyers, art directors, creative directors, and the students have their work there with the credit, their name, their contact information, and a little bit of a brief on what the project is. So that alone is a prestige to be in those annuals, and because it's an exposure. And especially that those annuals are going to all these people who are hiring illustrators. So that's important. Slowly, some artists start to get into directories. And I think directories now, I'm not sure about them, the directories that you sort of like I'm not going to name any directories, but they're expensive. They're very expensive, and you get buried inside. They're very thick, too many pages, and anybody can be in them as long as you're paying the very expensive rate to be in those directories. And you could be also on the website. But I think for students, to enter their best work into the competition, and that will guarantee exposure, as opposed to spending money on directories at the beginning, and maybe start bringing in project and making good good income from illustration. Then they might start thinking of that. But even that, I would invest more on promotion through going to conferences and meeting clients face to face than putting the work in directories.
Okay, very interesting. So again, on the topic of awards, there's so many awards out there. How do you choose between them, and are there any specific awards that are more prestigious or that are given more weight in some portfolios?
I mean, for illustration awards, you're talking about only illustration?
Yeah, sure. Let's do the illustration.
I mean, there's you guys, there's Applied Arts Awards. There's the New York Society of Illustrators. There's American Illustration. There's 3x3 annual. There's Communication Arts annual. There's the Bologna Children Book annual, which is very prestigious. And there's Spectrum for fantasy art. These are the top ones that I can think of. There's a Red Dot competition as well. Red Dot competition, I think this happens through colleges and universities, and the faculty or the university administration people will submit on behalf of the student. Red Dot is pretty good, actually. There's so I think, and there's for the one that there's also a Creative Quarterly that students submit to, and these are all good. There's CMYK magazine as well. Right now, it's became more like an online thing. These are all good competition to submit. I usually give my student a whole list. There are hundreds of them, and they can pick and choose. Like let's say if you go to poster.org, that's the website that only specializes in poster art. So they have like a poster Monday, where every Monday they have like a contest for a poster topic. So these are small things. So there are several different ones online, but the one I mentioned, I guess, are the ones that also, they're not just a website, the gallery. There's also there are books that come out and beautifully designed. You know, like American Illustration Annual or Spectrum are big, thick books, and like distributed to all different art directors. So yeah, it's very important, and I think these are the ones that the New York Society of Illustrators, I think, is #1 in the U.S. here. It's mostly coveted as the student scholarship competition. They offer scholarship up to, I think, $5,000 per student for that. So I know at SCAD we enter a lot of our student work into at the SOI, and I also enter into Applied Arts like yours, and I enter American Illustration Annual. So these are good.
Right on. So those are great ones. So moving on, what are the key challenges facing young image makers in today's market?
The challenges are competition, I guess. I guess today's market tend to be, you have access to many different artists at the same time, whereas before it was sort of you would connect with the artists that are within your area. So because of social media and online, and you have also the different artists from different places on the planet with different, I guess, quotes and rates cutting off each other. That's the main thing. What before it would be, let's say, if you're in Canada or in the US, you're working with clients in Canada and the US, you're really mostly competing with artists within the same geographic location, and you're building your rates based on the your expenses in that particular city or location. Well, now you have this competition from anywhere in the world where another artist could cut you off because they can bid less than yourself, and you could be living in London and paying $3,000 a month on a studio, where another artist could be paying a lot less on a studio somewhere else, and they both have the same equipment, they both have the same skills, and they both deliver on time, and they're both extremely talented, the artist who's paying $300 on rent will bid a lot less. So that's the problem today. Because of that, you have access. So the client know that. So that sometimes could be a a problem with where they request tests to be like almost like an audition from different artists, and sometimes they go with, and they're all similar artists, but they go with the one that bid the least. That's one of the problem. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens. The other thing that is, I guess, that if they're not prepared, a lot of students or a lot of artists who maybe out of school, they just graduated, they're faced with, they're maybe ill prepared. They have their work, they know what they're doing to creatively, but they don't have a focus or market focus, and I find that backfires a lot. Sort of they're showing a bit of everything, of every class project, but there's nothing cohesive, and they're competing against the artists who have cohesive style and a specific visual language. So it's really important for hopefully those students to be able to learn about the importance of having a unique style and cohesive style. But the main, those are the one I can think of in terms of problems that could hinder the work coming to the artist.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, great advice. So that's all the questions we have. I'd like to thank you so much for your time and for your valuable advice. I'm sure everyone watching really appreciates it.
Sure. Thank you very much. I appreciate it too.
Right. Thank you very much, Mohamed.
Best of luck to everyone. All right. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.